Hello, Simon here with another Too Many Projects, and it is a beautiful sunny winter's day in the shed. I'm still going with Clara's CB250 here, and if you remember in the last episode I got it running just barely, which is an achievement in my book, although to be fair it was running before I started, so I guess I haven't changed much there. But the reason I couldn't get it running initially was because it looks like the battery was dead, something which has caught me out many times. I always know to check the battery first, but did I? Not enough. And the starter button, which has an intermittent fault here. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Even though that was the problem, I did spend ages taking apart the solenoid and making sure that was working. So that was good use of time at least. It looks like the reason it's intermittent, which we should have spotted, is that there's a missing decelerator cable on the throttle. And we should have spotted that because when Clara got the bike, a little coat string toggle fell out a hole in the bottom of that control, which looks like it was an attempt to try and plug the hole that was there where the decelerator cable was, and that's allowed loads of dirt up into there, and it's just all the contacts are just really dirty when I had managed to have a little look inside there. But rather than just clean it, what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at this other problem. If you look at this side, the forks are vertical, but the bars are not horizontal. And it looks like that right hand side has taken a drop and it's bent the bars up a little bit. So we're going to replace the bars with a new second hand set. We're going to stick a new decelerator cable in. And there's a new battery to go on, and finally, wherever they are, Clara's got some new heated grips. So this feels like a good moment to take everything apart on the top and put it all back together clean. Why not overcomplicate things? Let's get going. So first of all, going to be whipping these weights out. Now this weight on the left has been coming loose, so we might have to see if there's some reason for that. I expect it just needs some Loctite. That's the other side. Okay, so underneath here, that's our throttle cable that's in there. That's where the throttle cable is missing, the decelerator cable, and that's where all the dirt's got in. If I whip those two screws out, this comes into two pieces. There we go. And then if I unhook the throttle cable, throttle grip comes off, controls come off. Just get that cable tie off. Then lastly I just whip out these bolts and get the whole brake assembly off. You can remove the clutch cable to make this easier, but I don't think we need to. Same thing, two screws. Ta-da! And get that off easily. And with the cable tie off here as well, these bars can come off. I could take that off, but I've got new bars and new grips, so it seems like a waste of time. The next thing to show you is right down here on the outside of the right hand handlebar clamp is a mark. So that mark should be in line with the clamp, which it is. We did move these bars backwards without knowing that, so they must have been in the wrong place to begin with. And on the subject, there's actually two little dimples on the top of these clamps as well, which are supposed to be going forwards all the time so we can remember where they go. And so we flip out these covers. Now, I'm just going to mark these as well, because this is left. I can't remember if that's important or not, but I feel like it might be. And then that's the old bars at the bottom and the new bars at the top. It's actually less perceptible when you put it together than it was on the bike, but you see how the right hand one is not right, and actually the left one looks a bit bent as well. mid-cleaning, I've just remembered, this is the old tax disc holder that we don't need anymore. And Claire's due back in the car any minute now, and I actually want to sneak this off, and I've got a secret project to do this week with it. Sneak that into my pocket, and I'll resume the cleaning montage. Okay, to put the new bars in, there is going to be some copperies. And then all we need to do is get the new bars, line them up centrally, and then look for that, there's that little dot that we looked at earlier. Make sure when you put these on, the little dot is at the front. Finger tight. It's interesting, that position, because I've always thought these bars are a huge rise, but now that that dot's lined up where it's supposed to be, they've got such a backward slant that actually it's less of a rise and more of a go backwardsy thingy. And those are going up to 24 Newton meters evenly. Lovely. So much crap's got inside the electrics on the right hand side. This one's not so bad. There's a bit of corrosion on this side, which is the light switch. So I think I can pop that switch out. So let's get some contact cleaner on that. It's not that dirty, look. Just a bit of grime. It's nice and shiny again there already. Same on those internal contacts. Well, those are your new bars, look.
Oh, they look really cool.
Now this side, very similar situation but worse. No contacts in the top, but the bottom is just bad. I'm going to take this apart a bit to get a bit deeper into the mechanism, and I'm going to try and not lose any springs and things. Just a dead spider and a washer and a screw. And we'll just get this arm cleaned up as well. You know what, the actual starter button is that white box at the bottom, so I'm going to get that out as well. Oh god, there's some really small screws that I could lose. So there's that button component on its own. So with that out, I can really make sure I get it clean. Right, make sure that's exactly where it needs to be. Get this lever back on as well. Alright, that's that. Right, welcome back to the shed, and I'm going to try and get the grips and controls back on those bars today. I need to get the grip off the throttle twisty thingy there, which I should have done before I took them off because they're much harder to get off now. And I've got some R&G heated grips here. So the wiring might come in a later video because I would like to do quite a nice job of that, but we've got two replacement heated grips. We've got a loom to go from the battery to somewhere under the tank. We've got a loom to go from under the tank in three directions, one to this switch and one to each grip. And we just need to be putting these grips where the old ones were. Right, nice clean parts over there. So getting these off, whether you're getting them off the metal or if you're getting them off this plastic part, you can cut them. You can just get a knife and cut them, but it's gonna scratch some stuff, and I quite like to do this neatly. I like to get a ball-ended Allen key because it's not going to scratch anything. Get it inside there, and then what we can do is get the GT85, spray it right down where the Allen key's got in, and then give the bars a little, like if it was on the bars I would just literally you know, start moving it backwards and forwards, but I can't get a handle on it now. But I think if I just work the Allen key around, the GT85 just cleans and lubricates underneath where it's got nice and solidly stuck on over the years. But let's see if I can just, there we go. It makes it really easy to get off. GT85 is not always the correct tool for cleaning things, but it's a very thin oil-based product, and as a result it's quite good at cleaning thicker oil-based products off, watering them down, diluting them. Okay, just make sure there's no oil-based products on the bar there, in case it gets a bit slippery. And I'm going to do this in reverse. Now, the first job is going to be working out exactly where that wants to go. So what we're about to do is just get the twist grip part of this throttle to go back into there. So the first thing I'm going to do is just disconnect the throttle cable down on the carburetor so I can have all the slack in the world. Push that up right out there, so that's my accelerator cable, and then this, my brand new Honda decelerator cable to go on there. So this is the end that goes into the grip. Lubrication on those threads. So that's filled up that hole that's been open to the elements for who knows how long. I will route the rest of the cable later. So then, to get that in place, I'm going to have my decelerator cable in one side, my accelerator cable in the other side. Just tighten up those cables on the carburetor end. Ease the controls back on top, and then just pop the screws back underneath. I'm just putting a bit of copperies on them as well because I'm obsessed. Now, we could do some adjustment later. To get this loosely in the right place though, I'm guessing the best way to do this is to make sure that, so that weight is going to end up sitting right on the end of the bar there. And this throttle is going to want to go over the edge of it so that the weight sits inside. So it's about there. Up and down I will do when I'm sitting on the bike later, but for now, if I tighten those screws up right there, that gives us a really good estimation of where that's going to want to end up. Now, the different grips, the right grip which goes around the throttle is larger than the grip that goes around the handlebar. Quite a loose fit. I was expecting that to be quite hard to slide on, but that's what that's going to end up looking like. It's good. If you struggle to slide this grip on, then hairspray is recommended. I'm sure there's a product that's actually meant for it. Ideally nothing, and if you really are struggling, then just find water, because water will eventually evaporate. Basically, you don't want this to move, which you can see it does move. I mean, but that's where I want it. So we will just get the clutch back on. Okay, controls reattached at a slightly wonky angle. I'm just going to go and read the instructions, get some advice on. I think I might have to glue those down, I don't like that. In the meantime, I'm going to whip the tank back off, I think. And I'm just going to make sure our new decelerator cable chases down underneath through the heat shield. Then I'm going to reattach the accelerator cable. We also then need to just attach the decelerator cable as well. Doesn't seem long enough. I'm going to take this part number and go and check that's the right decelerator cable. Okay, so after blaming everyone else in the world for doing things wrong, I've thought it through. I found the accelerator cable was at its full tension. I've got an adjuster on the grip and I've got an adjuster here, and they were both really tight. So I've slackened them right off. Now that seems to be working fine. The only issue I have is where this throttle cable was set before was much tighter than where it is now. Well, I guess we'll see when we start it up later, won't we? Renthol grip glue, that's the right thing, that's what I was missing here. So I'm going to use this to stick the grips to the bars on the left and to the twist grip on the right. The placement of this needs to be such as to avoid going hard against the control here, which prevents the grip from turning when you throttle up. And I'm going to be placing the cable and making sure it's coming out right there, just at the very front of the turn, which means that once this cable is cable tied up neatly, it will be able to turn more than a quarter turn without the cable getting stuck or getting in the way of Clara's hands when they're on the grips there. So that's the right place. And to avoid it getting too hard against the controls there, I'm just going to pop this folded piece of thick paper in and then not crush it down too hard, which creates about a millimetre's gap. Now, I would be tempted naturally not to be too liberal with this glue to make sure that I can get these grips off and replace them in the future, but the instructions are quite specific about being liberal, and I guess it's more important to be safe. You don't want these grips to come off when you're going down the motorway. Let's slide it on. And then twist it half turn. And that is going to mean that it spreads the glue all the way around beautifully. I'm going to run my spacer around just to make sure there's no glue sticking me to the grip. That's exactly where I want it. That's going to take 8 hours to dry. Let's do the other side. So while that glue was drying, I just got on with some other little jobs that needed doing. Battery tray had a couple of spots of rust on it, and it was a bit of a mess, so I just took that to pieces, gave it a little coat of paint, I cleaned everything up. And I just got started on that secret project I was planning earlier. It's quite nice to find all of the old duty discs piled up on top of each other in the tax disc holder, but we haven't needed those in the UK since 2014, so since it's nearly a 20-year-old bike now, I thought it was quite a nice thing to keep on the bike. And so I found a lovely photo of our cat Kaya and I just mounted it in there as a little mascot for Clara when she's riding. Okay, let's try and get this thing finished off. So first of all, I just want to get these controls in the right place, and I've got a picture. It's this one down here. Looks like the mirrors are pretty much meant to be straight up. That's a good place to start. I think that wants to tilt a bit further, but it won't, because the brake line is against the bar if it goes any further, so we'll go with there for now. We'll see if we need to change it later. the heated grips controller can go on here now, and it's just got a little bracket that it's got some spaces there to make it fit properly, but it's going to go directly onto the bar. I don't know, I mean I think that looks neater, but having the cable there is not particularly neat. Maybe here matches a little better. Don't know how I'm going to get to the screws. Let's give it a go though. So I get the feeling, I haven't got the instructions to hand, but I get the feeling if I remove these little screws, the thing comes with these longer versions, and I think those 4 screws can come out and you can actually just screw that down onto the bracket there. It also comes with some 3M sticky pads, which I think is a less elegant solution. There we go, button. Each individual grip needs to go into this switch loom. And then the switch loom needs to end up somewhere down here where we can get some battery power to it. It seems to me that this switch loom is very short. What I want to do is route it down with the rest of the cabling and wires off the left hand side. So there's your switch cable coming down. I've managed to get it to go in just behind that, the top of that yoke, and it comes out just behind the fork leg. Now to go with that, I'm going to take this heated grip connector, and then you need to tuck it in. So that's not very neat down behind here, but let's start getting this wiring in place at the top here first and looking neater than that. I searched long and hard for cable ties that connect in line so they end up flat after they're locked together, like these originals. These are actually reusable, but one of them broke, so I have to replace at least one of them, and I think a couple of extra wouldn't hurt. And these on their own are about £7, which is ridiculous. I'm sure they're less if you can pick them up from a Honda dealer, but to have them shipped is £7. And I'm going to try and get those tightened down so it's quite neat. And then further down the original loom with those 2 other cables, I will put a cable tie on that doesn't cable tie to the bar. And that way, if there's any slack needed as the bars turn left and right, this bundle down here will all still move a little bit. Now the right grip has its own problems because it has to twist. And we just need to make sure that there's enough slack here that when you twist it, it isn't going to get caught on the throttle cables here. Cable tie that lot in there, there's not going to snag on anything, is it? Oh, this is a real mess. It's neat enough. I'm not going to do the wiring today, back at the battery, because I want to do quite a nice job of it, and that is a whole other video in itself. But also don't want to have to whip the tank off next time, so going to put that connector there, and then I'm going to cable tie it on at the front here in an attempt to make this slightly neater. No, I don't think that's terrible. You know, we've got cables running down here quite neatly, we've got them running down this bar reasonably neatly. I would argue that the throttle cables are a little less neat. And on this side of the bike we've got most of the cables tucked away neatly there with that final connector. I'm going to finish off the battery tray. I've got a little new number plate for the back as well, which I will quickly sort out. I'm sorry, I was racing against time here to try and beat the speed of the light, but it's dark. But everything is back together. Battery's hooked up, the fuel is hooked up, the fuel is switched on, and the choke is pulled. So what do you reckon? Will it start at all when I press the button? And will it start the engine at any point? Let's find out. Brake switch. Now, in the interests of testing these heated grips before I finish this video, I've just temporarily attached them straight to the battery, and then let's see. Seems to be turning on. Whack it on 5, and now we wait. Okay, we have 2 heated grips. Fire on both sides. Call that a win. Oh, warm. Alright, that's it for this video. In the next video on this bike, I'm going to be sorting out the wiring and trying to do quite a neat job of that so that it doesn't run the battery out. Anyway, in the meantime, thank you for watching, and like and subscribe, and I will see you on the next one.